So, Waiting to Exhale was first published in May of 1992. And it was an instant smash, an anomaly at that time because it came from a novelist who was Black and female. So, because of the success of the book, of course, Hollywood couldn't ignore that. And the film adaptation arrived in theaters 3 years later. And of course, to no one's surprise, that was a smash as well, going on to gross somewhere upwards of 80 million internationally. But today, I want to revisit I'm going to revisit both the book and the movie. And we are going to check this New York Times bestseller to see how the themes in Waiting to Exhale hold up today as far as the societal norms that were dealt with in the book and movie, and how it holds up with today's single women, single Black women, that is. All right, so we're going to get into it. So actually, I was reading this book, From Hollywood with Love, The Rise and Fall and Rise Again of the Romantic Comedy. And it's in this book, they're talking about a number of popular and successful romantic comedies. Each chapter is dedicated to one specific film. So there's a lot of your favorites. When Harry Met Sally, Pretty Woman, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, Friends with Benefits. And one of the chapters was about Waiting to Exhale. And so I hadn't realized that the book is 30 years old, okay? So, yes, it came out in 1992, and therefore it is the big 3-0 this year. And so author Scott, I don't know, is that Measlow? But he was talking about the collaboration between Terry McMillan and the screenwriter Ronald Bass, I think, and how they adapted her novel, Waiting to Exhale, into a screenplay. Yes, Ronald Bass. So how the collaboration between the two of them to adapt the novel into a screenplay to develop for film. And so that got me to thinking about Waiting to Exhale. Now, when it first came out in the 90s, I did not read it. Did not read Waiting to Exhale. I just wasn't at the time into her writing. Well, let me think now. I was way too young back then. But like in the late 90s, I remember trying to read, I think it was How Stella Got Her Groove Back. I was a teenager then, and I remember reading it, and I got halfway through it, and I was in high school. And so I said to a friend of mine, I said, something about her writing, there's something about it that I'm picking up gay undertones. Like, I didn't even know how to explain it or describe it or whatever. And my friend was like, that doesn't make sense. And even now, I mean, it doesn't really make sense. But then later, years later, Terry McMillan, it was found out that her husband was gay and he came out as a gay man, or the situation with her husband happened. That was discovered. So it may have been that I was picking up on. And not that that had anything to do with why I didn't like her writing, but I think I just don't like those type of stories in fiction. I really don't read those kind of stories that are about single women and dating and stuff like that. Like that's not, at the time when I was a teenager, I wasn't really into that. So that's probably why I didn't finish the book. But I did try to read it. But Waiting to Exhale, I never read that book. Anyway, I remember going to the movies to see Waiting to Exhale. And that was quite an experience because it did come out around the holidays. I think it was either Thanksgiving or Christmas. I can't remember which one, but it came out during one of the big holidays. I think they even said it in here, but okay, it said it was released in December, so it must have been Christmas. Okay, it must have been Christmas then. So anyway, I went to see this film with my family, and it was an experience because Wesley Snipes came on the screen, okay? And the women went crazy for Wesley, okay? Now, me being my teenage self, I could care less about Wesley Snipes. I didn't know much of his films at that time. And not much has changed because I don't watch like action or whatever that he's usually in. But the women went crazy for Wesley Snipes when he came on. And it reminds me of a situation. I remember it was on the news years and years ago that somebody tried to sue Wesley Snipes. I mean, some woman tried to sue him for child support. And yeah, Wesley, he wasn't. Wesley basically said, no, we're not going to do this, okay? So for some reason, she was claiming that he was the father of her child, and her attorney wanted Wesley to take a DNA test, and Wesley was like, no, I'm not doing that, because if I do that with her, then every time some woman comes along and says I'm the father of her child, I'm going to have to do this. So no, she needs to prove that we even had a relationship or whatever. So I don't know. Wesley was like, it's not going down. Don't try me. And that's how that went. And I think it was dismissed or something, but I never heard much of it again. So anyway, that's what I think of when I think of Wesley Snipes. So, but anyway, Wesley was in the movie, and the man with the voice, I can't think of the actor's name, but he's in the movie too. And the ladies went crazy for him too. So anyway, this novel, which I decided to give it a read just to talk about it today. Now, I haven't read the entire book, but I did read some of it just to see what it's like in comparison to the film. And the novel, I will say, my older self can't appreciate the novel now. Back in the 90s, Anyway, she does have a sense of humor that I like, Terry McMillan. And the premise of Waiting to Exhale is 4 women dealing with one man problem or another, survive singlehood, divorce, abandonment with the support of strong female friendships. And that is the main theme, overarching theme throughout the story is the friendships. But I do love how Terry McMillan, she tackles serious issues, but with a sense of humor. So you don't realize, it almost kind of lessens the blow of those serious situations that the characters go through. You know, Bernadine, obviously, she has her, nice American dream life that she's living in Phoenix, Arizona with her husband, John. And then one day he decides to let her know, he's leaving her for a white woman, And this gets emphasized in the movie. But they seem to muffle the part about wait, they're living in Scottsdale, I think it said. Scottsdale, Arizona. So, I mean, they in the book and in the movie, they emphasize that Bernadine is left for a white woman. But it's like, it's in Arizona. So, I mean, like, if her husband was leaving her for a black woman, that would make headlines. I'd be like, there's 2 black women in Arizona? I mean, I don't never think black people when I think Arizona. So they make the white woman the villain, but I'm like, it is Arizona. It's predominantly white. So the probability of your man leaving you for a white woman is, I mean, do the math, you know? But anyway, so her husband lets her know he's leaving her for another woman. And all the while, she's been living comfortably and not having any other plans but to be married to her husband. And that proves to be a problem for her when she finds out she's getting divorced. You know, he's got all the money. He's got all the knowledge about money. And she's just used to acquiescing to his future plans, you know, like that has been their life. He just tells her what he wants to do, you know, and she goes along with it. And then she quit her job to, you know, have the babies and take care of them. So she had no plan B. But I mean, would a woman have a plan B in that situation? I don't know. But that was the situation with Bernadine. And then Savannah, is Savannah the one with the married? I think Savannah is the one with the married, having the affair with the man who's married. And Savannah, I think, is the narrator in the book. And the book goes back and forth between current day and flashbacks. The book is a little bit on the long side, but it is about 4 women, but it's a little lengthy for me. But yeah, so Savannah, she is, you know, dealing with this married man, and she is an educated, attractive, accomplished woman. So they're all 30-something women, by the way, if I haven't mentioned that. But this novel does show how some single women, not all single women, but some single women, when they reach a certain age, they then go backwards and just have a rerun at their romantic affairs, okay? They go in reverse and they go back to the men that they dealt with before to see if, okay, maybe he got his stuff together. Let me try him again. And it's just like, oh my goodness. But yeah, so there's that. There is that in this story. And Robin, okay, I didn't get too much of her story yet in the book. I'm about like a third of the way through the book. But Robin, she is I think she's going on 35. And okay, I remember now. Robin is the one who's dating the guy. She's dating Leon. And she wants to get married, you know, start a family. And she's in her mid-30s now. And Leon is just like, you know, I'm not ready yet, but I promise when I get there, you'll be the first to know. Don't you just love that? Okay. So she's wasting her good 30s, okay, waiting around for this man to get himself together and decide that he's ready to get married. And he's 37. So, I mean, okay. But that's what she's doing. And then you have Gloria. Gloria is the one who owns her own business. I didn't get too much into her story yet, but yeah. I mean, in the movie, I know she's the one who's Gloria knows how to cook. Okay. And yeah, something happened where I forgot why how she became single, but I haven't gotten to her story yet in the book. I haven't gotten to it yet, or I don't remember right now. But yeah, so those are the 4 women that are in this novel, right? And yeah, it's interesting. I'm having a good time so far. But it does, I would say the film adaptation does take the main parts of the novel and handles those plot lines pretty well. And now it did take me to, I don't know if it's an essay or something, but yes. So then as I was just looking into Wait Until Exhale and, its success and what happened with that, I then came across some criticism about the novel, the film, and the author. So Bell Hooks is a Black woman writer and feminist, and she wrote an essay titled, Race, Sex, and Class at the Movies. And she calls this mock feminism. So again, this is according to Bell Hooks. Now, Bell Hooks did pass away this year. I think in February. It was earlier this year she passed away, but this is her perspective. So, and then it was published in her book, Real to Real. So that's real, REEL, to real, REAL, Real to Real. So in this essay, she's talking about both the novel and the film Wait Until Exhale. And she has some harsh and strong criticism about the themes and the portrayal of Black women. So she feels like it's fair game. She's not into because it's Black, you can't criticize it. She's not one of those people with that ideal. So the first thing that caught my attention is that she seems to imply she doesn't believe that Terry McMillan co-authored the screenplay. Now, I don't think that's fair to Terry McMillan, okay? I'm just going to say, I don't think that's fair to Terry McMillan. So, Terry McMillan, the author, she does have a BA from... She has a college degree from, I think, University of California. I guess, let me look this up real quick. But I know she also has a MFA from Columbia University. So it's not like she doesn't have the education. And not that, if she didn't have the education, that means that it's a lie or something. Yeah, she went to the University of California, Berkeley, where she got a BA in journalism, and then she got a master's degree in film from Columbia University. So Bell Hooks criticizes whether she wrote the film or not, as if the screenplay, as if she is incapable. And I just think, just based on her educational background and life experience, I think she can write a screenplay. So I don't know if it's fair to say or to imply, because she's not outright saying it, but she is hinted at she don't think that Terry McMillan wrote the screenplay. I don't think that's really... Now, obviously, I don't know for sure, but she does have co-author credit on the screenplay with screenwriter Ronald Bass. So that's what that is, okay? So she brought that up, and then Bell Hooks wasn't so happy with the way Terry McMillan criticized Black women in Hollywood. So apparently there was a Black female writer who started working on the screenplay for Waiting to Exhale. And for one reason or another, things fell through, and that didn't work out. And obviously we know Ronald Bass, who is a white man, he ended up getting the job, and he is the one we know who wrote the screenplay. So it's not mentioned what happened with the Black woman who was working on it, and I didn't go into finding out what happened. But the Black woman, she was no longer attached to the project, and then Ronald Bass came in, and the two of them together wrote the screenplay. Bell Hooks, she criticizes Terry McMillan because I guess she made some statements that implied or insinuated there are no Black professionals who could write this, who could adapt her novel. Now, I just want to read from it real quick. So it says, McMillan told The World in Movieland magazine that those experienced Black women directors in Hollywood just were not capable of doing the job. She made the same critique of the Black woman writer who was initially hired to write the screenplay. From all accounts, most of them given by the diva herself, it appears that Terry McMillan is the only competent Black woman on the Hollywood scene, and she just recently arrived. So that is an excerpt from the essay written by Miss Bell Hooks, okay? So I sense some animosity. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I'm sensing some animosity about this. And then Bell Hooks goes on to talk about the themes in the story, how the women are always smoking cigarettes, which is revealing of its time, because nowadays you almost never see people in movies or even in books. You notice that has been removed from the storyline. But in the book, I know there's a scene with Bernadine. She has been she quit smoking, and I think she's gone like 100 days or so without smoking. And then the minute, her husband tells her that he's leaving her, then she goes right back to smoking. And so Belle was judgmental of that situation. She also Bell Hooks was critical of the appeasement that I guess she thinks Black Hollywood makes in order to have crossover appeal. But she was talking about, so she said, as Black artists seek a crossover success, the representations they create usually mirror dominant stereotypes. Now, I think it's fair game to criticize Black Hollywood as you please, but she was quite harsh in her criticism. Although, I mean, there is stuff here to criticize, but she was quite harsh. But while Bell Hooks' criticisms are valid, she concludes the essay by saying, let me see here. Just because writers and directors are Black does not exempt them from scrutiny. The Black female who wrote a letter to the New York Times calling attention to the way this film impedes the struggle to create new images of Blackness on the screen was surely right when she insisted that had everyone involved in the production of this film been white and male, its blatantly racist and sexist standpoints would not have gone unchallenged. So she has valid points. I mean, just because the screenplay was written by a Black woman or the novel was written by a Black person and the film adaptation has a predominantly Black cast doesn't mean it is exempt from criticism. I mean, it's a form of art for people to consume. So it's fair game, right? It's fair game. But I don't know. I kind of feel like Bell Hooks was wanting to set the bar too high as a result of it being a predominantly Black cast and a Black novelist, Black screenwriter. So sometimes I think we can be a little bit more unrealistic in our expectations because, again, when Wait Until Exhale came out, which was, the film adaptation, when it came out, it was 1995, and at that point, a predominantly Black cast, and females. This is a film that is centered around 4 females. So that in the 90s, I don't remember seeing that. So, I mean, if you do the research, it's not really there. So to put all the responsibility on Waiting to Exhale, that's some small shoulders for that responsibility. That's what I'll say. But I don't think there's an issue with criticizing the film because at the end of the day, without criticism, you won't become better. You'll just keep doing the same thing. So it's valid to criticize, but Bell Hooks, man, she was quite harsh. Okay? She was quite harsh. But anyway, those are my thoughts on that. I did enjoy the film. And I so far am enjoying the book, the novel. But again, I haven't finished it. So I might come back and give you my thoughts when I finish the novel. But it's like 600 pages. I'm not used to reading novels that are 600 pages. I usually tap out at 3 or 4. So I don't even pick it up at 600 pages. But we will see if I finish this novel. And if I have more to say, I might share that with you. But those are my thoughts on Waited to Exhale, okay? If you like this video, please give it a like. And please consider subscribing. And tell me your thoughts on Waiting to Exhale. Do you remember when it came out? The movie or the book? What was your experience? I'm curious to hear those stories, okay? I saw the film in Brooklyn, New York in the 90s. And I remember at the end of the movie, a Black guy, he wanted to let the audience know that every woman needs a man. So that's what he said at the end of the film. I don't know if he was feeling some kind of way. But yeah, he wanted to let us all know, every woman needs a man. So in case you didn't know. So anyway, that's that. Thank you so much for checking in today. And I will put the link to the book description if you want to get more details about the novel, Waiting to Exhale. I think that I did hear Terry McMillan say it was going to be adapted into a TV series, but I'm not sure if that's still the case because I think they were saying something about COVID sort of made those plans come to a halt. So I don't know if that's still the case or not. But yeah, I will put the link to the novel. Oh, why am I doing this like this is the novel? But I will put the link in the description below, and I will catch you guys next time. Bye.